Well, it took a few months, but with Bitcoin, your patience is always rewarded. We finally broke through that $112,000 high and went up to around $118,000 just in a matter of a couple of days. And this is just as the new Superman movie is coming out, which I've seen has got some really good reviews so far. But and of course, Superman's dog is named Crypto, so there's an interesting connection there. That just as soon as that movie comes out, we have crypto Bitcoin reach its all-time high. If you're wondering why Bitcoin has gone up, that's pretty cool to see. Even though we have all this chaos around tariffs, that like the Bitcoin price doesn't really care, and it's going to do what it does. And one big reason for this is a weakening dollar, which is starting to show up. So looking at this article, we see that there's signs of a weakening dollar, sliding dollar. The greenback, I don't know, this writer must be from the Civil War era, calling it a greenback, but it's fallen 10.8% against a basket of major currencies, with the DXY index dropping to its lowest level since early 2022. So this is one reason why we're getting this higher push, even though we still have high rates that Jerome Powell refuses to cut back on, even though the true interest rate is well below 2% right now. And so once that kicks in, we're going to have even more potential upswing. I think, Powell has a personal vendetta with Trump, so that's he's ignoring the data right now. But hopefully that changes and he eventually will come around. So in this article as well, you see that it's a byproduct of looser monetary policy, which has historically aligned with greater investor appetite for risk and stronger Bitcoin performance. And then going on, as it weakens, we could even get more increases as the dollar weakens, and along with dollar debasement, which is always happening, right? And that's why Bitcoin keeps going up. And if we get even more quantitative easing, then Bitcoin's gonna go up even more. Another thing to note here is that we have options market Bitcoin more interest in the $115,000 to $120,000 range, which is the range we're in as a recording of this video. And there's also, along with this now, there's more interest in September and December at the strike prices of $140,000 and $150,000. So people are looking for Bitcoin to go up to those levels by September or potentially December. But we could go even higher than that, right, if all those things play out. And this is always great to see. Over $1 billion in crypto shorts wrecked as Ethereum tops 3K for the first time. So Ethereum, and then we have Bitcoin, which had 678 million worth of Bitcoin shorts liquidated for a total of 1.14 billion across the crypto market. I don't know what you're doing if you think you can short Bitcoin right now in a bull market, because you never know when it's gonna pop off and wreck you. It's even riskier than going the other way, right? Another thing to pay attention to here is the crypto fear and greed index, which it just entered the greed zone around 67. And if you're new to crypto, you might look at this and say, well, it's probably time to get out. But in the past, during bull markets, we've stayed in this greed and extreme greed zone for multiple months at a time in bull markets. And so this is likely to continue, and we're going to get a few more months here. Maybe it'll be 1 or 2 months, or maybe it'll be 2 to 4 months. Who knows? But this in the past, as we can see back here before the election, we entered the greed zone, and we stayed there for about 3 months until we started to see a sell-off. So we could see that again with 3 more months of similar upside, or potentially even more parabolic upside as we get more businesses investing into crypto. This run is driven by institutional adoption. The retailers haven't showed up yet, and when the retailers show up and FOMO in, then that's when we see that last blow off top. So if we look at this market psychology chart, which is one of the best charts you can look at for any asset. But right now, I would say we're kind of in the optimism, excitement area where people are starting to come back around to Bitcoin after it's been boring for several months. And now we're seeing some price increases, and so this could start to drive more retail adoption as we get into August, September, October. And then, of course, after excitement and thrill, we have the euphoria, which is the top, which is where you want to sell, especially if you're holding altcoins. This is where you're going to want to sell off all your altcoins, and my strategy is just to sell them all off, put half in Bitcoin and half in USD, and then with that money, a lot of that money, I'm just going to wait until Bitcoin goes back down again. And maybe we don't have as severe a bear market as in the past, because that's what we've seen is gradually less severe bear markets. But maybe we still see a 50 to 60% drop in Bitcoin, which could be, I mean, if we get up to 150, that's back down to 75, which could make sense. Or we go up to 180, 200, and then we're closer to 90 to 100K on a pullback to where we can add some more money. So that's how I'm playing it. Now, there is a lot of talk about that we're not going to have another Bitcoin bear market because of all the institutional adoption, but this is the thing that Wall Street plays off of, these emotions, and so they're probably going to make people pay for thinking that way, that there's no especially if that becomes more of a big talking point where like, oh yeah, we're not, a lot of people are telling you that we're not going to have that bear market because we have so much institutional adoption, then people are at the top are probably going to do the opposite and probably going to try to max extract from retail like they always do, right? So not to say that we couldn't have a big melt up and not a bear market, but it's wise to keep skin in both of the game. We're taking profits, but also keep money in Bitcoin in case we get that crazy melt up. You don't want to, you can do what you want, but I'm not going to take all my money off the table of Bitcoin and then we have something crazy happen where Bitcoin just melts up to like 500K, then you're screwed. So keeping balanced in both fields. And a couple of tweets here, one from Arthur Hayes, who's been in crypto for several years, and he manages Maelstrom Fund. He says, I was slightly bearish in my last essay due to TGA refill. What changed? BTC busted through all-time high on good volume and ETH following. So he says, get ready for a monster alt season. So that's what we can expect next. We can see that Bitcoin's dominance is starting to drop, and this could trigger money rotating into the altcoins right now for that monster season. And with that rotation, now could be a good time to look at some of the top altcoins. Of course, we have the big ones like Solana and XRP and ETH, which are still really good buys in my opinion, even though they've gone up recently. And we can also look at the biggest narratives, what they're going to be as we rotate into altcoin season. Things like AI, so things like Tau, BitTensor Tau, and AIOZ are a couple that I like in the AI sector. Real world assets, Ondo is one of the leaders there, and that has backing with BlackRock. And of course, XRP with it breaking out, the price could be heading up over $4 here in the medium term. So that's another solid buy here, along with altcoins related to XRP. Although XRP is a later, you still have coins like XLM, XDC, and XCN, which I've talked about on this channel, which as we get here a shift going into the higher caps, probably when this starts to rotate into altcoins, always goes to the higher caps and then it bleeds down into these lower caps. So things more like XCN, which are at that lower range. And there are several indicators we can look at that have told us almost exactly in the past where the top of the bull market is. So I'm going to keep you up to date on those as the coming months progress here. So make sure to subscribe, and I'm going to let you know what I'm doing and what I'm seeing in the market, and when these indicators are showing when you should sell. I made a video a while ago about this that you can go back and check out, about 5 key indicators you should look at when to sell. But as we progress, I'm going to go over those and bring more in, so let you know again what I'm doing and what we're seeing in terms of the top of Bitcoin, and when we can start to take some big profits and rotate that money out and from altcoins back into Bitcoin. Also, if you want the best option to keep your crypto safe and secure as possible, check out my link to the Ledger device, and I'll also put a link down there to Tangem wallet as well, and you can check those out if you're interested, and we'll talk to you next time.